Everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today we're going to take a look at another of DC Collectibles' new Teen Titans New 52 figures. Yesterday we took a look at the new Superboy figure, and today we're going to take a look at Wonder Girl. And like with Superboy, this figure comes in basically very similar packaging, with your white and red highlights and your window box packaging. You've got the Teen Titans logo up at the top and then the name of the character down below. Then on one side you have a darkened in image of the character, and then on the other side you have an actual image of the figure. And then below that it tells us that the figure design was based on designs by Brett Booth, and that the figure was sculpted by Karen Palenko. Then finally on the back we have a little thumbnail image of the character or the figure, a little brief bio, and then a look at all three figures in this Teen Titans wave. Superboy, Wonder Girl, and Kid Flash. All of which have hit comic and specialty shops this week. Okay, so let's get the figure open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging, and for the most part I really like what they've done with this figure as far as the sculpting and the paint applications on this one. I think they're very solid. Now I will note that this figure is shy of a couple things. First of all, there's no hood on this figure. I guess that's why it's based on Brett Booth's design, because obviously I've seen in the comics many times where Wonder Girl has a hood on. So there's no hood on this figure. She's also got two gold, basically gloves. So I've seen some versions of the character that are a little different in that regard. But I have seen, we have seen images, or seen this particular version of the costume in the comic. So it is accurate, depending on what comic you're looking at and such. But again, I guess that's why they specifically say on the packaging this is based on designs of Brett Booth's version of Wonder Girl. Now you'll notice that one hand is sculpted open and one is closed-fisted. Unfortunately, she comes with no accessories, no kind of lasso or anything. She has on her waist a kind of lasso, and in the comics, I guess her lasso is kind of like an electrified type thing, and it kind of, you see it on her waist and stuff, but it like extends out as an actual like rope and stuff that she holds in her hand and such. Whereas with this figure, it's just basically done as a belt. It is a very soft material and it fits loosely on the figure, but there's no pieces that come out that you could use as an actual type lasso, which is kind of unfortunate. It would have been cool if they had made something that had extended out that she could hold in her hand, or an extra piece or something along those lines to give her more of that lasso effect. But unfortunately they did not include anything like that. So you have basically the lasso as a belt, which is not removable or anything. And again, it is a very soft, rubbery material, somewhat transparent. So it looks good on the figure and all. Again, it just would have been cool if they had made something where she could hold. The sculpting on the figure, I think the face is great looking. She's got kind of a pink metallic lipstick on, a very blue eyes. She's got some nice wash effects in her hair, so it stands out nicely, and it's sculpted long. It is somewhat soft, like we've seen with other female DC Collectible figures. However, it does prohibit her from really being able to look upwards at all, and we'll go more into that when we look at the articulation. And the other thing I like about this figure is that they've made it, the body is somewhat transparent. I don't know how well the transparency will pick up on camera, but you can, if you shine a light through it, you can actually see the light shine through. And they've done this whole glitter effect throughout the body of the figure, here on the legs and the chest and everything. And I think it really comes out nice and looks good, gives it that effect that you see in the comic books. So I really like what they've done with that on this figure. So scale wise, this figure stands at just a little bit over 6.5 inches tall. So I think the scale is pretty good. You'll notice here she is next to the new 52 version of Wonder Woman, so you'll see that she is a bit shorter than Wonder Woman, which I think is accurate. Again, just like with Superboy and Superman, you know, this is a teenage girl, so you wouldn't expect her to be the same height as a full adult. Here she is next to the Superboy figure, and Superboy is just a hair taller than she is. So again, I think that's a pretty good scale. Okay, so for articulation on this figure, it's basically the exact same type of articulation that we saw on the Superboy figure that we looked at yesterday. Not quite as nice as what we saw on the recently released Crime Syndicate figures, but certainly better than what we saw on the original New 52 figures released by DC Collectibles. So let's just go over the articulation points real quick. The head's attached with the ball joint, so she can look left and right with no problem. And the hair, because it's a soft, rubbery material, doesn't terribly prohibit her from looking left or right. She can look down a little bit. The hair does, however, prevent her from really being able to look up at all. So she can look straight ahead, but she has no real head up movement due to the hair. Arms are attached with standard ball hinge joints, so she's got good rotation. Even on this arm, because she's got this little shoulder pad thing on, because they did it in like two different pieces at the joint, so it doesn't really prohibit her from doing her arm out, maybe a little bit, but not too much. And she's got good rotation there. She's got bicep swivels, single hinged elbows, but she can bend her elbow pretty good. And then she's got the swivel basically at the end of her gloves. So the wrists themselves don't actually swivel, but she does have that swivel at the bottom of her glove. And then there's no hinges at the wrist, so there's no up or down movement at the hands at all. Like with Superboy, there's no midsection articulation at all, no swivel or ab crunch. The legs are ball joints, so she can do the splits about that much. She can get her legs forward pretty good, and she can get her legs back pretty good. Single hinged knees, so she can bend her knee about that much. No thigh swivel either. And then there is a swivel at the top of the boot cut. And then the feet have a hinge joint, so she has good up and down movement with the feet, but there's no pivot there. It's just an up and down movement. And then she has the two peg holes at the bottom of her feet. So that's my review. Overall, I think this is a really nice figure. I do wish maybe we had the same kind of articulation that we had seen on the Crime Syndicate figures, but I don't think the articulation on these are horrid. An ab crunch or some type of swivel at the waist might be nice, but for the most part, I think you can still get these figures in pretty good poses. The only thing I don't like with this figure is that they did not give her any kind of like lasso accessory to hold in her hand. I like what they did with the belt, but it would have been nice if they had done an additional piece or something that she could actually hold in her hand as a lasso. But otherwise, I think this figure looks great. The sculpting is great. I like how they did the transparency on the body and the glitter effect, which I think came out looking really good. So if you're a fan of the Teen Titans or Wonder Girl, then I think you'll definitely want to pick this one up. And as I said, these Teen Titan figures are hitting comic and specialty shops now. We'll be looking at Kid Flash probably tomorrow, so be sure to check back for that. And until next time, I'll check you later.